Hi, it's Clark on Temptress. Today we're going to continue the quest to find the best inexpensive lithium iron phosphate battery out there. This is what we're looking at today, Siekon 100 amp hour. It's got a lot of claims and I'm suspicious. Let's take a look at this one under the cover. Well, you can see I'm not aboard my boat. Actually in my house, in what I call the lab of my house, kind of a messy little place in a room where I have my table and my electronics set up to do service on things that fail and whatever mad science project I'm thinking of at the time. So welcome to my abode. Don't spend a lot of time in the house. I'm usually out sailing. I mean, quite honestly, 90% of my life over the last 30 years has been out sailing, but do have this place. And since I have to be on shore right now and I'm getting ready to do some traveling by camper and some other things on that order, I'm here. So I thought I'd do this battery review at my bench. It's kind of nice having some room. Boats are kind of crowded. Anyway, this battery, the Siekon, came with a lot of claims and I liked the claims. It wasn't super high priced. You know, it's got EVE cells supposedly, and those are good cells. We're going to find out. We're going to look inside. It should say EVE on them if they have them. But it also had another claim that I've become a little less happy about. The main reason I accepted this battery for a review is that it has cold weather charging protection. Let me tell you why that's important. If you cool a lithium battery down to basically the freezing point of water, 0 Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit, and you try to charge it at any rate at all, you know, you can trickle charge it very slowly apparently, but you can still get in trouble. But if you seriously charge it, you'll destroy the cells like right away. And this battery is based on a BMS that has cold weather charge protection. Except I pulled out the manual that came with it and read through. I haven't even opened it up. I haven't done any tests yet. But by the way, it's a very nice manual. It gives you lots of instructions about how to use batteries and such. But here's the part that bothers me. Low temperature protection for charging, minus 15 degrees Celsius plus or minus 5 degrees. So between minus 10 degrees and minus 20 degrees, this BMS will stop charge from going into these cells. That's already too late. You've got to stop the charge at 0 Celsius. So this is worse than worthless because you're making a claim that you have cold weather protection. And to the people who don't know what the engineering of cold weather protection really means, they'll say, oh, I'll buy a bunch of these, put them in my camper, drive up into the mountains, I'm fine, bang, my batteries are all dead. It's better to not even have a claim and you solve the problem in other ways. Either you heat where the batteries are or you use some other method to shut down charging. But when you say there's cold weather protection and the cold weather protection is a protection at a level where the damage already happened, well, I'm not happy. But we're going to give this the run through and put it on the leaderboard and evaluate it against other things. I've been surprised before by batteries I thought were going to be great and they turned out to be bad. Let's see if I'm wrong. Maybe this battery is actually great. First step, we're going to charge it up. I'm going to show you what I do. I do this to every battery I've ever done a review about. I take a BankManager because BankManagers are very, very good at charging lithium batteries. The idea with charging a lithium battery is you'd like to charge it up to 100%, and really it's better to charge it right to 100%, but not to 101%. That's a lot of the reason why popular wisdom says charge to 80%, I believe. It's just because there hasn't been a way to stop at 100. You certainly can't rely on the BMS to do that. It's a whole different animal. But the BankManager, I've done all these battery reviews, and every time I charge twice with the BankManager. Once I bring it up to 100%, then I use other methods to charge above that to look for BMS shutoffs, and then I charge to 100% and do a discharge to see what the capacity is. And both of those tests are showing me that this is doing a good job. Also, we have like 600 of them in the field and people seem happy. Well, I'm going to hook it up. What you do if you don't want to hook it up to like a full system, if you're just trying to make it a battery charger or charge controller, first off, realize this is kind of an expensive charge controller. I mean, it's the only thing that does the job right, but there's a lot to be, it costs a bunch. It's more for a bigger system where you're trying to mix lead and lithium and do all those things. But if you already have one of these and you're just trying to charge a lithium battery up to like mix it in with your bank maybe, this is how you do it. You do the normal install with the contactor and a current sensor. Hook it up in the normal way. And this is a surface mount, so it's a two-part deal with an Ethernet cable between. The only thing is I'm not hooking up any lead. I'm only hooking up the lithium side to the BankManager. So, like normal, you've got your contactor. It has a lithium side and a lead side. And for the lead side, we're going to hook it up, in this case, to my bench power supply. So we're just going to apply some power to here into the ground. Turn on the BankManager. I had left it on, so it started right up. Please use the switch in the real fit world. I screwed that up. Then we're going to just lower the voltage with the power supply, which is something we can do easily with that, until the voltages come together. And then I'm raising the voltage back up. And now I'm getting 5 amps of charge. The BankManager, of course, I've already configured it for this battery. We'll finish the charge, make a click, and that'll be it. Well, I'm not on the boat. I'm in a house that's hooked up to the main power grid, so I've got the advantage of charging faster. This is a regular automotive battery charger. It's under the table here. I'll show you a picture maybe, but it knows nothing about lithium, but it sure can put out power. So we'll hook that up, and we'll turn it on. And in a second or two, there it goes. That's pumped a lot more power in. 43 amps right now between the two of them. BankManager does not care where the electricity comes from. It can be wind, it can be solar, it can be your alternator, it can be your shore charger. It just doesn't matter. It's just watching the power that's actually going into the battery and then making decisions for the lithium based on that. We'll let this cook for a while. After it clicks out, I'll come back and we'll finish the video. Charging is done. You can see that the BankManager has separated, disconnected the contactor. Put a little asterisk after the lithium voltage. That means that the lithium is no longer a candidate for a recharge cycle. If I were to lower and raise the voltage, it would just shut off. I guess I can show that. It'll connect when I lower the voltage and raise it again. Shuts right off immediately because it's fully charged. I am now going to take the top off this battery, and I'll do that outside. If you want to see how it's done, I show it in other videos. We're just going to pop this apart and have a look at what's inside, and well, try to run some heavy duty power through it and see how it behaves. Okay, got it open. Let's take a look inside. Guess it's sealed up okay. Wasn't perfectly continuous silicon, but it was hard to open, and it smells like a Chinese factory, so I'm sure it's plenty waterproof. Let's see if we can get this battery out without, oh, almost forgot to take my watch off. Let's see what the cells say. $320 watt hours, so they are 100 amp hour cells. I don't see it saying EVE, but we'll do a little look into that, figure that out in just a bit. It's a 100 amp BMS as expected. Usually that's what you find on 100 amp hour batteries. It has two 7-gauge cables, and on the positive side it has, I don't see a rating on the cable, but it does look about twice as big as the 7 gauges, so that should be right. But we'll know for sure when we hit this with the thermal camera and see if it heats up. What else do we have? We have the pickup wire for all the cell voltages. That's very important. And we have this thermal pickup wire. Put together okay. Nothing embarrassing in here. Okay, the thermal pickup goes right to this bus bar underneath the cells. Perfectly reasonable place for it to go. The only problem with it is it's going to certainly be fine for over temperature, but it's under temperature. I mean, right from the spec, it's no good. I'm not even going to test it because if it's 15 below Celsius, the damage to the cell has already happened. Kind of pointless. Let's hook it up to the meter and give it a charge, and let's see where the BMS shuts off cell by cell. We're going to run some power into it, but through the BMS, so we'll let the BMS shut things down if it needs to. And we want to find out how well and at what point is the BMS protecting the cells. And putting this here, it's the same as putting it on the battery terminal, of course. How well is it protecting the cells, and how balanced are these cells? And maybe we can even see if there's some balancing going on. All interesting things. They all tell us a lot about the quality of the battery. Okay, it's almost fully charged. I'm stopped it because it was really close. Actually, I charged it up a bit earlier and I backed it up a little bit so I can show you on video. But second time through, here we go. This is going to be the cell that goes high first. And we're getting 3.72. Usually these go off at 3.65. But it looks like this is one of those BMSs that chose 3.75. Not a big fan of that, but you know, scared the heck out of me the first time a battery went that high or a cell went that high. I'm expecting all the magic smoke to leak out, but it didn't. And I've run them at this height a lot of times and they were fine. Okay, it's charged. Oop, just shut down. I can see the amps flowing over there. So we have 3.738. 3.653. 3.686. And finally, 3.575. Now, as time went down on, these went lower. If I go back to this first one, it's already down to 3.725. So we got to give this a pinch of salt. So let's take a look. The biggest difference between this one and this one, and that is 1.15 volts off. I like to see them within 0.1, even right from the factory. But the thing is, this battery's been just sitting around for a while, and the cells will do things. You need to kind of charge them up and let the BMS do a little balance. Will this BMS do great balance? Unlikely. It's definitely a passive balancing BMS at this price range. That's all you're going to find. If you want to see what a really good BMS can do, I did a BMS replacement on a battery in a video just a little bit ago. I use a JK BMS, and I'm quite impressed with those. And they're not very expensive, but that's more do-it-yourself. Most people will never tear apart a battery, and you certainly wouldn't buy an all-in-one that you planned on tearing apart. So the next thing I'd like to do is we're going to put a real big load on this. Now, I've got an inverter. It's not as big as the inverter on the boat, and my load isn't as big, but you know what? This battery isn't as big. So it's all going to come into balance and be right. So I've got a 1,500 watt inverter. I'm going to hook that up. I'm going to run this heat gun off it. And to make it look really Frankenstein-y, I'm going to control the heat gun with this dimmer. I got this from a friend, and he uses it this way all the time, and it works. And I tested it out. It didn't smoke or anything, and it did have good control. I'm going to try to bring it up to 100 amps as much as I can. I only get readings on the AC side. And then I'm going to use the thermal camera. We'll take a look, and let's see what gets hot. Well, I got everything set up finally. I've got my meter on the table here. Should be able to see it in the second camera. And that's going to tell us the voltage across the poles so we can see how much voltage slump happens. Got my thermal camera going. I've been charging this one fairly hard just a while ago, so it's 33 Celsius at the hottest point, but the wires are cool as can be. That should change. I'm going to turn on the load. That'll make a little noise. Coming on now. Okay, I'm drawing 9 amps at 114 volts. So it's more or less 100 amps at 12 volts, I imagine. Take a little watch here. Everything's still very cool. I mean, look at my hand. Obviously, I'm body temperature, so I'm a lot hotter. We'll have to let this run for a while. Let me check my watch, not on my wrist here. Okay, so we'll give it 15 minutes. So the hottest spot, as we expect, is the BMS. Still very, very cool. It's 42, but it's going to get warmer than that. I'm not too worried at 40. I mean, hell, Panama's 40 in the sun. Guess we're 45 up here. Yeah, we're going to give this a pass because my wire is probably much hotter on the outside. What is it? Yeah, I'm up over, I'm like 100. Yow. Okay, I can't do a full test today. Just my lab here isn't temptress. I don't have big wires. These are just 10 gauge wires, and they're up to 100 Celsius, and I don't want to start a fire or melt the plastic. It's silicon, so it's not going to actually melt for quite a while, but my God, it's hot. I didn't see any thermal things. The wires look big enough. I'm going to give this thing a pass for temperature. I think it's going to be just fine. I've done enough of these. I know you can tell pretty soon. Oh, I did want to check quickly about the voltage that it got down to, so I'll hit it again here. 12.8. That's not bad at all. Not bad at all. Okay. As far as how they built the battery, no real complaints. I think the wires for this size battery are big enough. Wasn't too upset with the balance and the cells. The only thing I'm upset with is the fact that they claim to have a low temperature shutdown because that's the hot thing right now. They're saying to people that don't know batteries and haven't researched this, hey, don't worry, use it in a cold place. We'll take care of these batteries. Except this thing won't actually take care of the batteries. And I'd rather them just say, no, we don't have any cold temperature shutdown. than to claim they do and they really don't. Because if you know you have batteries without cold protection, like in my camper, I have batteries that don't have cold protection, and I'll be using the Generation 3 BankManager. It has some level of protection to shut down the batteries. Not as good as the BMS could do the job, but better than this BMS will do it. And very likely I'll put this battery right in that camper because everything's in Florida, and just either that or I shove it in a shed, and I hate to waste. So this will be protected from cold weather situations by the BankManager Gen 3. Just trying to decide. I guess I'll go through the leaderboard quickly, and we'll see how it ranks up. Well, that's the tear down. You know, I kind of didn't want to like this battery because of that cold weather, deal. But all in all, it's a fine little battery. I think I've changed my mind about it. I think it's probably pretty good. Let's see how it holds up on the leaderboard. So we'll go through the features. Capacity. I did an off-camera discharge of this through a calibrated load. Let it run for a while, pulling out 10 amps. And the total was 105 amp hours. We're paying for 100 amp hours, so 105 is kind of what's expected. They always give you a little extra at the beginning. And 105 is significantly more. So anyway, it certainly did what was on the label and then some. The cells, they're EVE cells as far as I can tell, and they look like it. You can look up that number that I put in the video earlier if you're really concerned with the specifics of them. I've only heard good things about those cells, and they are performing very nicely. So I'm going to give them a great. Build quality, I'm only going to give the build quality a good. For the price, there are some BMSs out there that have Bluetooth. And I'm beginning to believe that Bluetooth is kind of important. But if you're just going to put your batteries in and never look at them, it's not going to do you any good anyway. So Bluetooth may or may not be the right thing. It has a passive balancer, but all batteries in this price range only have a passive balancer, so we're not going to hold that against it at all. The main reason I drop it down to a good is you basically have to disregard their claim that it has cold weather protection, because in practical terms, it doesn't. But not a whole lot of batteries at that level do. There are some, and you can look at the leaderboard down in the description and see what the competitors are. Let's see. The case. It's a fine case. It's the kind of case you expect for a battery of this size. I wish that it wasn't what we expected. So this is my plea to you battery companies. And if you want an absolute excellent in this size, I want you to make the battery smaller. Take a look at this. We got foam here, foam here, foam here, teeny bit of foam, but that's necessary down there. You could make this case this big, and you could fit this battery in it. Why are you using this big case? I know, because it's a standard size and they're available and you get away with it. But that just makes you a run-of-the-mill battery producer. You make us a smaller case, and we know plastics don't cost that terribly much for you to manufacture. And you make a case that just fits, that lets us buy more of your product and put them into the same space. And that's what we really want. So if you want an absolute excellent, I'm talking to all you battery manufacturers, that's what you do. But I'm going to give it a great because it's what's expected. It's a fine case, has nice terminals, sealed up nicely. It was very difficult to get apart, which means, of course, it won't fall apart on you. And it smelled of a Chinese factory when I opened it, so that means it's airtight. There was no air exchange. It'll stay nice and dry inside. The company, I kind of wish I hadn't put this category up there. For the companies like Redodo, where my viewers are getting back to me and saying, hey, they stood up to the warranty and things like that, I feel good about giving them an answer. But a company like this, I know nothing about it. It's a brand new product. They're just going in the market now. All I can go by is the woman that's talking to me. She is getting back to me like about that issue that I found with the cold temperature. She got to the engineers, and the engineers admitted, yeah, it really needs to stop at 0. But so I'm getting good response from them that way. Uh, on a personal note, she's a little hard to deal with. But I really can't hold that against the company in general because you won't be dealing with marketing people. You're going to be dealing with, who you have to deal with for customer service. And I honestly just don't know. So I'm going to give them a good, um, because what else can I give them? I don't know about them yet. But go check the leaderboard in the future. And if I get a lot of responses that they're terrible, I'll lower that rating. And if I get a lot of responses that, hey, they were right behind it when I had an issue, I will raise that rating. The leaderboard in the description is always the best because things change and that lets me update. Can't update videos. Finally, the cost to value ratio. This battery costs $230 on Amazon right now. That's in the ballpark of those cheaper batteries. Had it had a good thermal, that would have been kind of a slam dunk, but it doesn't. It doesn't make it out of the ballpark for the competitors that don't even claim to have thermal protection. So there's that. It's a little bit higher, and I've got this theory, and I might be wrong on this, but this might actually be cheaper. And this is only based on the fact that there's some things going through right now where there's an import tariff that's going to happen to lithium batteries coming from China into the United States. And it's possible they're already paying that tariff where the other companies are still selling old stock. So to know if this is a good or great value, you're going to have to just look at the competitors at the time you make your choice. And it might turn out that this is the cheapest, or it might turn out that it's close to the cheapest, but it's not ridiculous. So I'm going to give it a great. I would give it an excellent if it really was the cheapest, because the wiring is good. The terminal connectors inside are just what they should be. This BMS looks reasonable, has nice heat sinks, it's mounted well. I don't see that they've cut any corners that you shouldn't cut for a battery of this size. Where some of them on the leaderboard, where I say don't put more than 50 amps through them, that kind of thing, they are lesser batteries. This is a fine 100 amp hour battery. So let's see how this all works out price-wise. I guess that concludes my review of this battery. Thank you for watching. If you like our channel, look around. I got other things you might like. Please subscribe. If you find something you really like, you can really help me out by, of course, saying you like it, but also if you share it with your friends or a forum or something, that's really helpful. Bye from Clark. I'm Temptress, actually in Florida this time.